compelling detective story, a cloak and dagger action, and a romantic drama, all these stories were taken from real life. The history of Kazakhstan is inseparable from the world history. Reflections on history, our version.
Reconciliation Zone. At the command of the director, leaning heavily on his cane, slightly stooped, the old man is walking in the field. He says something quietly, twisting Russian and Spanish words, but it seems that his thoughts are far away from here, from camera crew and from summer day. It seems that mentally he returned to the days when he was young. He was so far away from his homeland by the decree of fate that another man had broken away from the delegation and other people followed him. People do not come to the Spassky cemetery every day, but they come from all over the world. This time they speak Spanish here. Being here is very important for me. I know that my father was nearby here because it was a single-system gulag camp. People who were enemies met each other face to face on a foreign land. Two parts of Spain reunited in Kazakhstan, Republicans and Franco. This land became the last shelter for my compatriots. Chapter 1, it's a cloudless sky over Spain. Puerta del Sol Square, the air temperature is +22, slightly cloudy. According to the legend, the weather forecast and the civil war are closely interlinked. The confrontation began with the phrase, "It's a cloudless sky over Madrid." Madrid's cloudless sky exploded. The streets were covered in burning and blood. The civil war began in Spain. As a result of the civil war, the country was almost divided into two camps, which have fought each other, and the question of national reconciliation was always a critical issue. In 1933, as the result of an almost bloodless revolution, the Republicans came to power. After that, post-revolutionary chaos, economic crisis, and according to the laws of history, it was the turn of the dictatorship. The youngest European general after Napoleon, Franco, rebelled against the Popular Front. July the 18th, 1936, the generals of Hitler coalition supported the General Franco. Republican revolutionaries were supported by the Soviet Union. Along with military supplies and humanitarian aid, they also sent their experts who introduced the various units of the Republican Army and contributed theoretical and practical preparation of the Spanish Republican forces. They had both theoretical and practical training on the territory of the Soviet Union. So they sent several thousand of Spanish men to the Soviet Union. Luis's father, Vincent Montijano, was part of the last series of military pilots. The pilots were young, 17 to 18 years old. The oldest turned 21. Madrid, monument to the writer Garcia Lorca, was killed by Franco's soldiers, another victim of the separated country. In 1939, after Franco's victory, Republican pilots were honorable in a foreign country, but unwelcome. They were no longer needed by Spain itself, but at the same time, they had created a problem for the Soviet Union, which took up their retraining. Many of them did not want to become Soviet citizens, said Louis. Another war started. When the war started in 1941, Stalin said, either you become Soviet citizens and fight for the Soviet Union, or you'd be sent to the camp to work there. This is how the pilot, Vincent Montijano, appeared in Carla camp. They did not judge them. None of the prosecution was put forward. They just sent them to the camp, and that's all. Spain was an ally of Hitler, but in fact, they did not enter the war. It maintained an armed neutrality. Only one division was sent to the military front, 250th Volunteer Division. It was called Blue by the colour of the form. In total, it included about 50,000 people, and they swore not to Hitler, but to fight against communism. My father was 19 years old. He went to war against the communists. He believed that the communists were on the side of evil. Part of the Blue Division soldiers were so-called volunteers. Why is it so called? Because some of them were recruits, but they were given the choice of either go to the Eastern Front or serve somewhere else. Those who chose the Eastern Front were the volunteers. Some went to the front by conviction, some went to go over to the Soviet troops, but they both appeared in the same camps. According to Alfonso Ruiz, the Blue Division did not mirror itself by punitive actions, they just fought and distinguished with the courage and resistance. These are the memories of the fascist officer. If you see a German soldier unshaven, drunk and wearing an unbuttoned tunic, do not rush to arrest him. It's more likely that he is a Spanish hero. The Blue Division did not let the Soviet troops to break through the siege of Leningrad, where about 400 Spaniards were captured. Most of them were sent to Kazakhstan. Former prisoner of the Carla camp, Josep Buñuelos, did not fight. He was a child. Children of Spain were sent to the Soviet Union to be saved from war. But the war could not have been avoided. At first he worked in Stalingrad as a tractor factory. He was making projectiles when he wasn't even 14. Hunger, stealing bread. 8 years in the camps. I stole bread. Republicans, the Blue Division kids, different ways but only one road to a distant steppes of Kazakhstan. Chapter 2. When I was there. Sunny skies over the St. Anne's Square. My father Louis never said that he was in prison or had been in the camp. He used to say, when I was there. He did not like to talk about that time. Even many years later, when he talked about what happened there, he never called those places, he just said there. He always said it was there. He worked hard for 14 hours a day. It was freezing in the barracks where he dreamed of homecoming. There, at the sawmill, he lost his fingers. From fatigue, he did not even realize what had happened. They amputated his 3 fingers. Only his thumb and his index finger were left. But you know, I'm a doctor and I can say that prisoners' fingers were amputated very professionally. Each of them has his own story. When they loaded us into the trucks, there were 3,000 people. Only 600 remained. I was one of them. I was lucky, says Jose. They died. Everybody died. My father told me that at first they kept them for a long time in terrible conditions, in cattle trucks. Then they hit them with weapons. Only guard dogs and naked, boundless steppe were around, says Louis. Minus 30-degree cold, biting wind. Only security guards were riding the sled. They'd been traveling for 12 hours on foot to the camp. 66 pilots and sailors arrived in Kazakhstan in total. They stayed in the camps for up to 1948, and some of them even longer. It was known throughout the Gulag camp. A special unit, the Spassky, all-union place for disabled, or so it was called. They sent prisoners of war, internests, the wounded and the disabled there. They were called the waste material. It held for more than 60,000 and it was only prisoners of war. It was made up of 40 nationalities. 40 kilometers from Karaganda, other side of the Spassky Dolinka village, yesterday's enemies separated by beliefs often met by barbed wire of the Carla camp. Chapter 3. To survive at cross purposes. All the things on the table belong to those times. A bronze inkwell, 1934, a fountain pen seems to be made in 1942, and a production of a table belonged to 1940. The investigator sat at the table like this, and with the same look he interrogated another prisoner. Once this building housed the Karlag camp's headquarters, now it's a museum. They walk through the halls and try to understand how it was, how their relative lived and survived. But from all of the Spanish delegation, only Jose knows exactly what it is like being through the Karlag camp. You are lying on these beds in the cold barracks and realize that the person who is next to you died. The second person who is nearby is also going to die, and this feeling that you are lying among the dead and among those who will die soon is the worst feeling in the world. We lived in a friendly fashion, says Jose, and those who fought on Franco's side and on the side of the Republicans, we reconciled sooner than the whole country. Karlag camp, a forged friendship, a gloomy joke of past times. Anna's father, Pedro Cepeda, was part of the Soviet troops. When he was in the camp, he found out that there was another Spaniard, Alvarez, who was out of the Blue Division. When they met, initially Alvarez did not want to talk to Pedro because they were enemies. They fought against each other. Alvarez said, "I do not want to speak with you because I'm from the Blue Division." And Pedro replied, "I don't care even if you're from the Green. I just want to speak Spanish." And I began to communicate. The most important thing was to survive. This place where I am now, it is very important for us. It is drenched with the blood of the Spaniards. They suffered here. They are buried here. During the war, the death rate in the camps reached 65%. However, 3 people did not live any better. Prisoners' rations differed little from the grocery ration wartime. A piece of black bread with potato peelings and a little sunflower oil on top was a luxury. In the camps, people mainly died from disease, malnutrition due to the fact that they had to work a lot. There is no documentary evidence that the Spaniards were killed or shot. The documents which Enrique speaks about, Kazakhstan passed to Spain in 2013, and then the idea to create a film appeared, so the world learnt about the Spaniards that have been forgotten in Karaganda. We still receive letters of thanks by relatives of these people who did not know the fate of their ancestors, their fathers or their grandfathers, where they were or what happened to them. Epilogue, a tribute to the memory. The weather does not even pamper in June. Mosquitoes, gnats, an unfriendly sun. In the summer, +40. In the winter, -40. The people call the Spassky a million population for more than 50 years. However, no precise statistics are kept. According to an eyewitness, no money was spent on funerals. Prisoners dug the graves themselves, and they were common. And the dead were not asked to see what their nationality was. This is a solemnly measured place. The soldiers laid flowers to the monument. According to the documents, more than 150 Spaniards had been through Karlag camp. 14 of them are in the Kazakh land, but what's more likely is this list is incomplete.